welcome to 404s of the World, a spin-off series of remarkable engines where I briefly covered the history of an engine numbered 404 in 4 minutes and 4 seconds. For this episode, we'll be covering another 2-for-1, specifically 2 engines that existed relatively close to each other in the history of one of the largest railroads in the South, the Louisville and Nashville. Instead of listing one of the engines as an honorary 404, I decided to dedicate a review segment to each 404, since there isn't too much information about the individual units, but enough information about the general history of their respective classes. So with that out of the way, let's begin. The first of these 404s starts at a time late in the age of steam engines, but the furthest back in the series' history, namely the year 1926. During this time, most new steam engines were based on duplicated standard designs from the United States Railroad Administration, or USRA, with one of the last new designs from this agency being the Light Mountain, a light axle variant with the new and powerful 482 mountain wheel arrangement. One of the last railroads to utilize the USRA Light Mountains, or at least a variant of the class, was the Louisville and Nashville, who placed an order for 16 engines in 1926 and numbered them 400 to 415, with 404, the locomotive to be focused on, being built towards the beginning of the batch. Upon completion, the Light Mountains were placed in the heavy mainline passenger service, carrying many flagship trains between Cincinnati and Atlanta, with some trains continuing on to Birmingham, where they would be transferred to neighboring railroads. 404 would later be found on the Louisville to East St. Louis trains, and even freight runs, since the 482 wheel arrangement was designed for both passenger and freight, but despite their light axle loading, the Mountains were barred by bridge loading limits for operating further south along the system. Despite their simple design and long-lasting success on the L&N, they were no match for the impending dieselization of the country, as 404 along with the rest of the class was retired and scrapped around the mid-1950s. Although 404 specifically got some recognition about 70 years after being retired, as Lionel made an O-scale model of the engine as one of many variants of the USRA Light Mountain. As luck would have it, the story of the second 404 starts right around the same time where the first one ends, but would have a much larger story off of the L&N than on it. Built just a few years before the first 404 was scrapped, the railroad placed a large order of EMD GP7s, one of the most common do-it-all types of diesels in the country, and a worthy replacement for the various standard types of steam engines. The L&N purchased 59 units in total, with 404 being built early in the order as it was built in April 1951, as the engine along with the rest of the class could be found anywhere across the L&N system, this time not limited by any weight restrictions. Although, this GP7 wouldn't have as long of a reputation as 404 on the L&N, as the engine will be renumbered to 2266 and again to 2380, before the L&N became part of the Seaboard Family Line system and was subsequently repainted into the similar Family Lines livery and stayed on local duties before being renumbered again to 884. Eventually, when Family Lines became Seaboard system and later CSX after merging with the Chessie system, the GP7s were seen as surplus, even though they were given CSX reporting marks, as they were eventually sold off to smaller railroads or scrap yards. Thankfully, 404 was sold to the Buckingham Branch Shortline Railroad in Northern Virginia, as it was renumbered to 8851 and then again to simply number 1. It was named the Pete Peters, as its lower hood was later chopped off in 2009, which finally brings us to present day, where it can be found once again performing local switching duties and running tourist trains with other common EMD models. Even though this engine spent the least amount of time during its life as 404, it still served a long-lasting career on multiple railroads in the South, performing its duties as one of many in a great class of engines. Thank you again for watching. Credit for all the photos used go to their respective photographers, and if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like and subscribe for more. Have a good day.